Everyone, what is going on? It is Crypto Bobby. Hope you are having a great day, great night, wherever you might be watching in from. Wanting to pop in this morning for a little bit of another crypto happy hour. Again, still out in San Francisco right now, so it's honestly easier for me to do these YouTube lives just because the internet connection in the hotel makes uploading a video take forever. So wanted to pop in here for YouTube Live, answer some questions, but also go over a couple different things. The first thing I wanted to touch on is some key support and resistance levels for Bitcoin, specifically from Nick Pizpie, which is a great follow on Twitter. If you are not following him yet, I would highly recommend it. Also want to talk about some of the things from the conference that I heard yesterday. So I'm out, like I said, in San Francisco at Lendit. It's not just a blockchain specific conference. It is, and I'm not speaking or anything. I'm literally just a participant trying to learn and just meet some different companies and organizations out there. So I am, I've been listening in on a lot of these conferences, things like that. So it's been a fun time so far. But there were a few different panels yesterday that I really liked. The first one there was one on Wall Street adoption in cryptocurrency. So we'll touch on some of the things that were discussed there. There was also a panel on how to properly value cryptocurrency. And I thought there were some kind of interesting discussion points too. So we'll get into all of that. What is going on, Troy? What's up? What's up, Lightning, Sebastian, Amon? Hope you guys are having a good one. And if you guys just got in here, please hit that like button. It really helps to get the video out to as many people as possible. So if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button, that thumbs up button, that would be fantastic. So we'll kick things off right now. I mean, in the last hour, we've had a little bit of a baby jump up, which has been nice on Bitcoin. But this tweet came out recently within the past hour or so. And if you're not familiar with Nick, I would highly recommend giving him a follow. The way he approaches trading is, for the most part, fairly simple and clean, and it's kind of I enjoy it because I have a simple brain, and it helps to, let me just fix the view count here. It helps to just make it, for me, make a lot more sense in many respects. So I like the way that Nick approaches trading, and in a lot of respects, it's just simply support, resistance, looking at large size block orders and some other things. And he was recently on the Crypto Street podcast. If you listen to those guys, Nick's episode was actually probably one of my favorites on the Crypto Street podcast. So just Google that Crypto Street podcast, Nick Pizpie, and that should probably pull that up. But the two levels that he's looking at right now, obviously you can see on the screen, 6,400 to 6,500 is the area of support. If we dip down below that, obviously there's going to be a lot of issues, and there's going to be a lot of longs and potentially leverage longs underwater. Pretty hard resistance at 7,300 to 7,500. And there's a lot of shorts that'll be underwater if we surpass that. So both kind of areas to keep an eye on as we continue to move forward here. Not sure if you guys have any specific thought process on that, but it should be interesting to watch how this pans out. There's been a decent amount of kind of back and forth between these two areas, and the direction in which we might go is, I think, going to be interesting to see how that pans out in the long run. Now, outside of that too, it's been an interesting day to see some of these alts kind of pumping again. And, not everything is on the nice side. The downside has been fairly limited for a lot of these altcoins. Outside of, I don't even know what the hell Mixin is, but outside, the majority of these altcoins are within a few percentage points of breaking even, if not a bit above that. But yeah, ELF has pumped nicely up 30% right now. Verge, XVG, the standard, killing it. I know I make fun of Verge a lot on Twitter, but own Verge, making money. Congrats on that. Whatever. Golem went live today on Ethereum, so that has pushed the price of Golem up pretty nicely as well. Golem up 19%. Ontology continues to make strong moves. Wanchain, I was looking at Wanchain and the entry point around 45k sats. Unfortunately, I didn't make a move on that, but Wanchain is up nicely as well. Skycoin kind of continuing to do its thing too. So keeping an eye on a lot of these altcoins going forward and checking out some of these questions as much as possible as I go. What's going on? Who Dat Crypto? What's up, Steve? Hope you're doing well. So just kind of before I hop into a lot of these questions, so one of the things that I thought was pretty solid. So like I said yesterday, I sat in on this panel, it was the title of the panel was How Wall Street Views Crypto. There was somebody from RBC. There was somebody who had started, who's an ex-Coinbase employee that had started his own fund. There was a couple other kind of established investors in the space, and a couple of the interesting topics there. The majority of people, I would say, were, so one of the initial questions was on if you had to buy something, or it was like, all right, this isn't financial advice, but if you had to buy one thing, what would you buy? The majority of people said Bitcoin. One person specifically said he was not a fan of Ripple. There was also mention, the people on the Wall Street panel also mentioned XMR, Monero, and Decred as positives. They specifically, one of the individuals had said that specifically said that he was not a fan of ICO'd projects or token projects, ERC20 type projects, or companies that had ICO'd, because there's a lot of regulatory uncertainty. But like mineable cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, like Monero, like Decred, or maybe a little bit more positive in the long run. And then from RBC, specifically the Royal Bank of Canada, if you are not familiar with them, one thing that was pretty interesting was the guy was talking about their top clients and said that a lot of the bank's top clients already own crypto assets, but they own them in their personal funds. They don't own them through institutional funds, or they don't own them through institutional accounts or anything like that. But I thought that was interesting to hear that a lot of the individuals there specifically mentioned that or RBC mentioned that some of their top clients already have exposure, didn't say the degree of exposure, but said that a lot of the exposure came through their own personal accounts and not through obviously institutional accounts, because there's really not access to that. So that was interesting. And then one of the things too that we can talk about a little bit, but the main issues, and this is something that I know a lot of people out there are talking about, either they hate Wall Street and they don't want Wall Street involved, but then on the other end of the spectrum, you kind of need Wall Street to get involved to pump your bags, because the retail investors can only take it so far. But the major issues that were pretty much echoed across the board that have, and this is something that we've spoken about before, obviously, but the major issues preventing institutional investment right now, the biggest one is lack of proper custody. Where do you store your cryptocurrency? How do you store your cryptocurrency? How is it secure? If Goldman Sachs has a bunch of Bitcoin for their clients and they don't have proper custody of that, it's not secure, they get hacked, what happens? There's not proper insurance yet as well. And then the degree of liquidity, or the ability to move in and out of positions, and the really just the proper liquidity required. I said outside of Bitcoin, but even Bitcoin has pretty low levels of liquidity in comparison to other existing markets that Wall Street might be familiar with. Those were the major issues that the people on the Wall Street panel had specifically mentioned as things that are holding back the institutional, the big banks or the pension funds or some of the family offices from getting in. Now, in addition to that as well, one of the things that they'd spoken about is kind of the progress of institutions getting into the space. A lot of the VC firms and hedge funds already have exposure. So a lot of the larger VC firms that you might be familiar with, some of the more innovative VC firms, they already have exposure to cryptocurrency, whether it's through investing in ICOs or through investing in other, kind of other ways. They already have exposure into the crypto space. There are many family offices that are also in crypto, whether it's investing directly in crypto assets or ICOs or equity in startups. Family offices are definitely getting involved in the space, and they are kind of rapidly trying to figure out what they can do and how they can do that. And I know that from personal experience as well. And the pension funds are going to be, they have massive amounts of money, but they are going to be the last entrance into the space, and that could certainly be a ways away as well. One individual on the panel had said, it might make sense for a pension fund to have 1, maybe 2% of their total assets in cryptocurrency because of the lack of correlation between a lot of other assets out there. So those are some things to definitely keep in mind. So taking a look at some of these questions here. Somebody said, very glad to see RBC has remained neutral while BMO has been negative, blocking crypto purchases. Yeah, that was interesting to see BMO just basically outright blocking crypto purchases. I don't know. I guess a bank has the right to do whatever they want to do, but it's the same point in time, it's kind of your money. But yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of that. I think that they're going to do more harm than good to themselves. Now, I think there's probably a risk profile there. If it's on credit cards, that's one thing. Like if people are taking out loans or going into debt to buy cryptocurrency, I don't think that's an intelligent move. But if it's out of a debit or checking account, I think that's a little bit ridiculous. So who knows how that goes. But yeah, the point of contact from RBC, I thought he had some really solid thoughts and had some good insight as well. So I think a lot of people too like to paint a negative picture on the banking or the financial services industry as a whole. And there are definitely good people in the industry, and there are definitely innovative people in the industry as well that are forward thinking. And then there are people that aren't. So I don't think you want to label everybody in that way. But that's something that you take everything with a grain of salt. So somebody said no, it's on debit too. Yeah, then I think that's a little bit ridiculous. So another thing that we can talk about as well, but there's another panel that was pretty solid. It was a crypto valuation panel. There were a few VCs on the panel that have their own funds, and there was a few VCs that had their own funds. And one of the things that I thought was fairly clear is that there really is still no one way to value. There's no proper way to value a cryptocurrency. A lot of people might throw out metrics. A lot of people might throw out numbers, but there is no proper way to value a cryptocurrency. And even some of the like quote unquote most sophisticated investors out there are simply kind of going through the process of an educated guess. And yes, they probably have better information than you and me, and they probably do significantly more research in that process. But at the same point in time, there is no real like one way. There's no metric that you can go to Onchain FX. We can't really go let's just say we can't necessarily go to Onchain FX and check out the NVT ratio or the transaction volume and the new issuance and see the number of transactions and find out the perfect ratio for anything, because there is no PDE ratio. It's tough, and I think that was pretty apparent when you're hearing from some of the most sophisticated investors in the space that when you say, hey, how do you properly value a cryptocurrency, they'll kind of talk a little bit about the process and say, well, hey, we just kind of go through this and we think this is the best way to do it, but we have no idea if this is right or wrong. So taking a look at some of these questions here. And happy to start answering some of these questions. I went on my little bit of a rant here and just kind of wanted to go over a little bit of an intro to the video here. But happy to start taking some questions. Which coin should I buy, BitConnect coin or Dvorak coin? I think they're both fantastic. I'm kidding. I hope to God that's a troll. It definitely is a troll. But no, don't put any of that. Don't put a dollar in any of those things. Getting a lot of questions about Ripple. I mean, I've talked about this at length before. I'm not personally a massive fan of XRP. Somebody had mentioned this yesterday and said, why don't you want to buy XRP? They have a lot of projects. They have this, they have that. And there was actually a speaker from Ripple at the conference who was on. He was on the to give you a little bit of context too. There is at Lendit, there's like the main floor, and then they have a floor above that's like exclusively for cryptocurrency and blockchain. But there was Chris Larson. I don't recall his exact role at Ripple, but he was speaking. He was one of the second speakers on the main keynote stage, and it was fully packed. It was standing room only when the Chris Larson from Ripple was on the stage. So obviously, there were a lot of people interested in what he had to say. He was pretty negative on ICOs and said that on initial coin offerings, and basically said that You're crazy if you're a founder and you're running an initial coin offering, and you're just opening yourself up to regulatory risks and all types of stuff. So he's not necessarily super wrong about that. At the same point in time, a little bit of the pot calling the kettle black. But like I've said this before, I think Ripple is a solid company. I think Ripple is doing something that is, I think Ripple is building legitimate partnerships, and they have a legitimate use case, and they have a very set of, they have a set of very talented people, but from owning the actual token, it's not my cup of tea. I've said this before, I'd rather own equity in the Ripple company than I probably would own XRP token. That's not to say you maybe can't make great trades off of it and things like that, but it's just not my, not my kind of total cup of tea. So what's up, Daryl? Thank you very much for that super chat. I appreciate it very much, man. Hi, I am Satoshi Nakamoto. Can you throw me some of those Bitcoin that you own, bro? Naima, can you share a promo code for consensus? So I don't personally right now have, I don't have a promo code for consensus. I haven't even bought a ticket yet, but I should hopefully be going to that. If you're in New York, there is a week in May that is should be awesome. So there's a couple different conferences. There's Consensus, which I believe is held by CoinDesk. There's Ethereal, which is held by Consensus, Consensus is the event from CoinDesk. They need to switch this naming, but Consensus is the event from CoinDesk, and then there is Ethereal, which is the event from Consensus, and there's also the Fluidity Summit, which Mike Novogratz is speaking at, Joe Lubin, Nouriel Roubini, who is very critical on cryptocurrency, a lot of some of the people from AirSwap. I'll be moderating a panel, which should be fun, so that'll be, there's like a week or two in May in New York, which is like just conference after conference and like legit conferences too, so that should be fun. But I do not have. I'll see if I can find a promo code for you, but I do not have one right now. So looking at some of these questions here. So one thing I tweeted about beforehand, and that was Wanchain, and they're actually at the Lend It event today. I think they might, I don't know if they're speaking, but Wanchain is, what do we got here? Let's see, in the last month since they ICO'd. I was looking for Wanchain, to be honest. I like Wanchain. I've met the team from Wanchain. I was looking at it, and I was kind of waiting for it to fall below support at 40,000 Satoshis. So kind of, I think it very briefly dipped below 40,000 Satoshis and kind of fairly quickly recovered and has since then gone up pretty substantially. So I was kind of considering, like I said, I like Wanchain. I don't own any Wanchain, but I was looking for it to dip below 40,000 Satoshis because I thought that provided a much better entry point potentially. I thought that that would be a nice opportunity. However, I missed out on a solid buy opportunity. It's up 53% from that 40,000 Satoshis that I was eyeing at that point in time. So I'll probably hold off for now, but it'll be interesting to see how this pans off. That's just kind of, sometimes I literally tweeted about it this morning, but like, you win some, you lose some. This was one that I was waiting to see if it would break below 40k Satoshis. Wanted to see. I was thinking that there was going to be a lot of sell pressure from the initial ICO investors that got in and were taking profit at 10x, 11, 12x of where they're at. And now they're pretty much above where they came out from the ICO. So this should be an interesting one to keep an eye on. But Wanchain was definitely one that I've had an eye on long term, but didn't pull the trigger on, and now certainly regret that I didn't. Spencer says Wanchain is speaking in Dubai next week. Yes, they are, and I'll actually be in Dubai next week too. Like I said, I'm an official media partner at the World Blockchain Forum, which is held by Keynote. I went to their conference in Miami, and they put on a damn good conference in Miami. So I'm excited. I've never been to Dubai. So excited about that. That should be hoping that'll be cool. That'll be a good time. So pretty pumped about that for sure. Hey Bobby, do you think Soros and Rockefeller are manipulating Bitcoin prices to find the lowest possible entry point? No, I don't. No. No, I don't. I mean, so first of all, I mean, who knows? But I don't think so. And I also know that, I mean, Venrock. So Rockefeller is through Venrock. Venrock, I mean, I worked with the props team from YouNow. Venrock was one of the initial equity investors in props or in YouNow, and I believe invested in the props ICO initial coin offering as well. So this isn't like the first time that Venrock has ever participated in crypto or like been involved in any ICOs or anything like that. And this was like back in September. This is just news that broke recently. Like there are a lot of times that you have to understand when like this news comes out, that these people have been in the space for a long time. Like it's not like maybe like the media just found out and they're like trying to push a narrative or trying to get clicks or whatever because they just found out. But behind the scenes, people have been working and doing their own thing. So I don't necessarily think so. So popping in ONT, yeah. Wanchain just continuing to crush it as I'm literally looking at the chart. Bro. So Ontology, here we go. So I read the Ontology white paper the other day, and suppose it would have been a good thing if I bought it when I read the white paper, because that would have been a nice. That would have been I think I read the white paper 2 days ago, maybe right here. That would have been a quick, 25% profit, of course. I need to do a little bit more research, just like fundamentally on Ontology though. But yeah, Ontology's just absolutely been smoking hot for the past month or so. But when there's, I mean, for me personally, at least, like when there's so many, when there's so many opportunities, basically when there's so many other altcoins that have just gotten their faces ripped off and there's so many other bargains, me entering Ontology now, I mean, the time to enter Ontology would have been a month ago. Now, maybe I'm not as interested, but you got to respect the level of moves. I mean, it could continue to run. It definitely could continue to run. And, you have to take that risk. But for me, there are a lot of other altcoins that look like they have pretty juicy entry points. So I'll hold off for now. Thanks a lot, Bradley. I really appreciate that super chat. Very, very, very kind of you, man. Lux is looking really good. KJ was talking about it today. I know. Shout out to my man Crypto Dale. If you're watching this, drinking a Busch Light at, I don't know, 10 o'clock in the morning in Iowa, wherever you are. My man Crypto Dale from Crypto Street Podcast is the CEO of Lux and loves that stuff. So I don't have any Lux, but James saying the Jets suck. Thanks, James. Tell me something I don't know, brother. Somebody mentioned Hacking a few times. So I haven't done the full due diligence on Hacking. I think I met the team. No, actually, I met the Gladius team, which is somewhat maybe competitive. But yeah, so I met the Gladius team in Miami. They were nice guys, nice young dudes. Like former University of Maryland, programmers, engineers. So met those guys in Miami. Haven't done a ton of research on Hacking. Polyswarm, I guess, is a little. There's a lot of companies that are attacking the security industry, but doing that in different ways. So I think like Hacking, Gladius, Polyswarm. There's a couple other ones out there as well. Naima, can you recommend a reputable crypto fund in NYC? Yeah, maybe we can connect offline on that. I mean, there's a lot of crypto funds. There's also some interesting ones out there too, which is pretty cool. There's like a crypto fund of funds, which is interesting. I mean, it depends upon how much money you have and if you're a accredited investor, because that's going to be the big thing. If you want to get access to some of these to some of these funds, you need to be an accredited investor, and a lot of times you're going to need like $250,000 to $500,000 at least to get entry into those funds. But the fund to fund type approach is kind of cool because there is. I remember it's the Flippening podcast with Clay Collins. He was talking to somebody who's running this, and basically it's a company who you buy into their fund, and then with their fund they invest in all of the top crypto funds. So they'll invest in like Ari Paul's Block Tower Capital. They'll invest in like Kyle Samani and Tushar Jain's Multicoin Capital. They'll like disperse that around, and they'll give you exposure to other crypto funds, because if you want to invest in one of those specific funds, you might need $1 million. You might need $5 million to get access to that fund. And you're only following one investment thesis. Whereas if you do this fund to fund, then you are getting access to multiple, you're getting access to basically exposure all over the place. So it's kind of interesting. What's up, Jacob? Hope all is well, brother. Thanks for making it live. Did the maid come back? No. They came back yesterday. They haven't come back this morning. There's no sign on the door, so can't do anything when the maid comes. Adam, I'll have to check it out. Let me see if I could find that real quick. Flippening podcast. So here it is. Protocol Ventures is the name of it. If you want to check that out, it's a good podcast. Google Flippening podcast and Protocol Ventures. It is it's a solid, definitely a solid episode. Something I would recommend listening to. If you want to, you can even. Clay's way more professional than me, so he literally has the entire thing transcribed. You can kind of go down here and you can see do we have a link? Protocol Ventures. Yep. So yeah, it's one fund that invests in a bunch of other funds, and yeah, it's a pretty interesting concept, I think, in the in the long term. But I believe you'd have to be obviously an accredited investor and all that good stuff. So what's up, Crypto Spark? Hope all is well, man. Hope all is well. Bitcoin Cash or XVG? I don't own either of them. I'm not a huge Bitcoin Cash guy. I think that right now Bitcoin the need for Bitcoin Cash. Sorry, my nose is so itchy. I don't know why. I think the need for Bitcoin Cash is down quite a bit because of the average transaction fee on the Bitcoin network has gone down pretty significantly. The transaction spamming is basically ceased, and the network activity on Bitcoin is down quite a bit from December, January. Hold on. So that's down quite a bit. I think just the need for Bitcoin Cash is pretty reduced overall. And it's also very competitive with Litecoin. I think that Bitcoin Cash and Litecoin are a bit redundant in nature. I mean, they're both trying to be that transactional cryptocurrency. They're both trying to be that transactional cryptocurrency. I think Bitcoin Cash has really solid arguments against Bitcoin, and the whole Satoshi's vision thing, blah blah blah. I mean, there's definitely validity to that. I don't like the approach though of like just trying to like take Bitcoin on, or Bitcoin core head on. And I don't like the negativity there at all, really. It's just not my cup of tea. No, no, Hein. I think it's 8:44 in the morning. I'm having an allergic reaction to something. 29. We know you are fooling your viewers. You want to, you can add a U and an O in front of year. Makes you sound a lot smarter. Um, You know you're fooling your viewers. You want to sell off your Bitcoin. You know it's a scam now. Yeah, man, I want to sell off all my Bitcoin. I'm just here pumping my bags because, that's the way to do things. Is just my entire goal is to create this YouTube channel and put a bunch of content, put a bunch of time, put a bunch of energy into it, just build a whole community around it, just so I can pump my bags like by like maybe 0.5%, if that, because, I don't know. There's how much daily volume is there in Bitcoin right now? What do we got here? 24-hour trade volume. So where's that 24-hour trade volume? There's $4 billion of daily volume on the books right now with Bitcoin. So obviously, Crypto Bobby with, I don't know, 140,000 subscribers is really pumping that stuff up. And that's just me, man. That's all I care about, bro. So somebody talking about Coinbase. Coinbase is slow right now, weak for my BTC purchase to hit. Yeah, Coinbase can be, sometimes Coinbase can be a little bit slow. One thing that's interesting is Coinbase continues to hire some pretty solid talent from whether the tech industry or the finance industry or kind of all over the place. So Coinbase is hiring some pretty solid talent across the board, which is interesting to see. I think they hired a few more people yesterday, like two senior like executive positions, which is I think good in the long run. Another thing that you probably might notice is there's still like there's very much a lack of competition for Coinbase. I think there's Gemini right now. Gemini changed up their fees, which I think are prohibitive to the average retail crypto trader. The fees are pretty high still. So, and Robinhood, I think a lot of people got very excited about Robinhood, and then when they looked behind the hood of what Robinhood was doing, it's still very. I mean, you're still only in 5 states, I believe. You don't actually own, like, you don't really own. It's essentially you're just buying kind of like shares of Bitcoin. You don't have access to send that anywhere else, I believe. So Robinhood, it's been slow to adoption. It's been slow to market, and yeah, they got over a million people signed up, but or on their email list waiting for it. But I still think it's probably pretty far away. So Coinbase still has a very large runway as far as Coinbase still has a very, very large runway as far as things go. Yeah, and if you guys have been enjoying this video, hit that like button. That'd be awesome. I would really appreciate the like, thumbs up, whatever it is. Just helps to get this video out to as many people as possible. So if you can, smash that like button, whatever people want to call it, that would be fantastic. Bobby, what do you tell people that don't believe crypto blockchain has a future? To be honest, I don't really like worry about it too much. There's a lot of people that get upset when a lot of people out there that get upset when somebody's like, "Hey, there's no future in this," or "This is a scam," whatever. And if you want to think that, that's fine. I'm not gonna like sit here and argue with you, and I'm not gonna sit here and argue with you and bitch and moan. But there are definitely some incredibly valid. There are valid criticisms on both ends. There are valid criticisms that say, "Hey, this crypto thing, it's not that new, it's not that innovative, it's not going to be here forever, blah blah blah, blockchain doesn't scale." Fine, you can say certain things like that. There's also massive things where you look at certain centralized services. You look at what happens when you have BMO and they say, "Hey, you can't buy whatever you want with your money anymore because we're saying you can't do that." Or with like Facebook and what happened with Facebook, where Facebook was taking your data and basically auctioning that off to the highest bidder and doing whatever they want with it. And there are certain things where decentralization and having some element of something on the blockchain really does make a massive difference. Going through some of these comments. Dode Investor, what's up, brother? Hope all is well, man. Still need to do that joint video. I have been way too busy. I've been trying to set something up with Node, wherever you are, brother. Also, Doug Polk. Supposed to actually have a video with Doug Polk, I think tomorrow, but I'm traveling back from San Francisco, so we had to postpone that. And some other things on the horizon. There's one person that I am working with as well that is launching a $50 million, or I'm just talking to him, but I met him at a conference. He is launching a $50 million crypto hedge fund. Worked at a massive, worked at a very large hedge fund. Worked at a very large hedge fund previously. Extremely intelligent. Really knows has been, made an entire career out of properly valuing assets and is trying to like develop more fine-tune valuation methods in the crypto space. So I'm working on having him and maybe some other investors on the channel to talk about how the pros value crypto assets. So that would be awesome. I mean, there's somebody who's going to have $50 million of money to at his disposal to be investing. So that should be awesome. Go skydive over the pond when you were in Dubai. I never skydived before. I don't know if I have it in me. We'll see. Do I believe Cardano can replace ETH? There are a lot of companies out there that are trying to replace Ethereum. I mean, if we pop, or not companies, I guess companies, projects, whatever you want to say. I mean, if you go to Onchain FX, we'll pop over down here, go to general platforms. There are, right now, at least you could say probably 14, and this is just on Onchain FX, there are 14 competitors to Ethereum, or what they would classify as competitors to Ethereum. A lot of people have different opinions as to which ones will specifically and potentially replace Ethereum. Somebody tweeted at me the other day, and it was a solid tweet. It's like, hey, do you think these guys can actually do this before Ethereum scales? And that's the big question. And Ethereum has the most, no matter what you want to say, Ethereum has the most developer talent on their platform. There are for the most part, the smartest minds and the most minds that are developing. I mean, outside of Bitcoin, there's a lot of incredible talent developing on Bitcoin as well, but there is probably second to that, or in conjunction with that, there is a massive amount of talent, human capital, that's putting their energy into developing on Ethereum. And even if somebody has incredible levels of scalability, if they can't get the developers to move onto their platform, that's going to be a major issue. So can it be EOS? Can it be Cardano? Can it be Neo? Can it be Icon? Can it be Archain, Waves, whatever? That's all something you have to take into consideration. At this point in time, guys, I have to get ready to go out to that conference. If you would like, I will be. If you don't follow me on Twitter, it's crypto_Bobby. If you don't follow me on Twitter, I'll be live. I'll be live tweeting some more. What's up, Loomdart? I'll be live tweeting some more information from the panels I'll be sitting in on. So that should be fun if you'd like to follow for that. If you just want some updates, I try not to tweet too much, although I always do. But I'll be live tweeting that if you'd like to join for it. Outside of that, really do appreciate the time. If you guys wouldn't mind hitting that like button, that'd be fantastic. Gets the video out to as many people as possible. And if you are new here by any chance, hit the subscribe button, the notify bell, so that the next time I do go live, you get an instant notification on that. Thank you guys so much for your time. I hope you have a fantastic day, night, wherever you might be. Take it easy, everybody. Peace.